Hello, true believers, and welcome to a very special Halloween episode of Marvel Draw. I am your host, Brian Crosby, and happy Halloween, everybody. Today we're going to be drawing one of the most evil, most sinister villains in the Marvel Universe, the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. We're going to go ahead and we're going to draw Goblin's face, Gobby's face today. And just to get started, we've got a piece of paper. Like always, you can use anything that you have around the house. I'm going to be using a blue colored pencil for my underdrawing. And then I'm going to be using regular old standard pencils. I have a 6B and an HB if you want to get technical about it, but you can use anything that you have, pen, pencil, markers, whatever you have. The important thing is to have fun and get in the spirit of Halloween. So let's go ahead and get started drawing the Green Goblin. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do, if you've been with us before, you know I always like to start off by drawing a circle here in the middle. And now I'm gonna make a center line going right down the middle, dividing it up. So he's gonna be looking straight at us. Okay, now we're gonna draw his chin. So when we've drawn like Captain America or other characters like that, they have a kind of a big, thick, heroic chin. Norman Osborn, Green Goblin's chin is a bit thinner and more elongated. And he's got that big grin too. So we're gonna make it a bit longer. Okay, so you see I got that big long chin. I'm just being real loose and sketchy with it right now. And I'm gonna take that center line and go all the way down from top to bottom. And if I'm ever going too fast, of course, you can always pause the video, get caught up. Okay, now we're gonna draw a center line going across the middle. Just maybe just a hair above the middle. That's gonna be the eye line. That's where his crazy eyes are gonna sit. Okay. Now for his nose, I'm gonna do a V shape. So see the bottom of the circle there? I'm gonna do a little bit of a V shape, just like this, because he's got kind of a long, angular nose. Okay. Now I'm gonna sketch in where that big smile is gonna be. So I'm gonna go just underneath that V. And I'm going to draw his smile. So curve shape, kind of echoing the same angle or the curvature of that circle. And then coming down and over. And then mirroring that on both sides. Okay? All right, now I'm going to draw his eyes. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw, and these are going to be much more angular and sinister than maybe the way we've drawn other eyes. They're going to be sitting on that eye line, kind of angled downward. Now Norman Osborn, he's wearing a mask when he is the Green Goblin. So this is not exactly his face. It's kind of like a latex rubber mask that sits on his face. So there aren't really any eyebrows, but he certainly has a brow and it's articulated and he's in all that stuff. Okay? All right, now we're gonna do his ears, one of the coolest parts. So he's got these big, kind of almost like elf ears. Okay, in this case, they're goblin ears. They come down and around like that. See him just being very loose, trying to find those shapes. Okay, and it's okay if they're not exactly the same. They can be, maybe a little bit different. All right, so now we're going to define the outline of his hood. So it kind of comes down to a point and then back and up, almost like a hairline. And then it comes down back to a point, just like that. What's great is you can look at the way the Goblin's been represented over the years. He's always drawn a little bit differently. So this is just one way of doing it. Okay. All right, so now we're going to draw the top of his hood, and then it comes over and off to the side here. You know, when you're doing a character straight on, sometimes it helps to do these things off to the side. Sometimes it's hanging down, sometimes it goes down the back. But he's got this great long tail that hangs off the back of his hood. And you can really break this up by just drawing shapes. This is kind of like a squashed cylinder. All right, so now I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna do some more definition with my underdrawing. So I'm gonna take this ear, I'm gonna do the inside of his ear. Okay, now we're gonna do the same thing on the other side, using my eyeline as a guide. Now we're gonna do the brow. So we're gonna make these nice and angular, really have fun here. You can draw a little eyelid. I like to give him a little bit of aging. He's a little older than Peter Parker. So I put a little bit more definition in his eye, maybe give him some bags under those eyes. All right, so there's our goblin eyes. He's looking cool. All right, now we're gonna do that nose. All right, so I'm gonna finish off that V just like that. I'm gonna make it a bit more angular here in the front. And his smile is gonna come off to the side, so you got some wrinkles here on the side of the nose. Now we're gonna go in and do that mouth. So I'm gonna bring his smile up to the corners, kind of darken that in. Now we're gonna do his gum line. So his gum line is just a series of arches. And with a character like the Goblin, you can be a little bit irregular with it, I think. It's kind of fun to do that. I like to make his teeth a little bit gnarly. So here's the bottom of his teeth. Maybe you can even make one of them maybe a little pointed. That's kind of fun. Really helps sell that Goblin quality. Okay, now same thing on the bottom. See how my lines are a little bit irregular? We're gonna give him a little bit of a bottom lip, just like that. All right, now we're gonna come in, we're gonna define this jawline a little bit more. So here's his chin, and that's gonna come up like that. And then he's got a jawline over here. Same thing on the other side. So the jawline comes up, forms his smile. Now for his eyes, so sometimes he's been drawn different ways over the years. If you really want to make him look sinister, you can just put a dot in the middle, and that is just creepy. Something about just having the pupils. Look at that. It like immediately changes the whole thing. I love it. So we're doing pretty good here. All right, we're gonna give a little bit more definition to this hood now. So now you wanna take the shapes and make them into something whole. So there are creases where the hood folds. So it kind of comes down. You got some creases here. Okay, now I think we're pretty good in terms of the underdrawing. So I'm gonna get rid of my blue pencil, and now I'm gonna solidify these lines with a dark pencil. So I love starting at the eyes. And now I'm gonna really start to commit to these lines a little bit more. So there's his eyes. See, I just went in and made some more definition. I'm kind of following over the top of the lines that I already made. And these lines up here really help emphasize the expression. So it just takes his head, his mask, and kind of stretches it out that way. He's very, he's full of life, full of expression. All right, so now we're gonna do that nose. So here's that side of that nostril there. Maybe a little bit of crinkle, it's coming up. Big part of drawing these sinister characters too is where you drop shadows. So he's gonna have a little bit of a shadow underneath that nose. He's gonna have some shadow underneath this eye. And you can add more and more shadow if you want. All of the shading helps make things more dynamic and give it more dimension. Do a little bit of his, I'm gonna do one side of it because I'm left-handed. Those of you who are left-handed know that when you draw, you end up with all the blue pencil on your hand. See how my line is going to be a bit irregular? So I'm not necessarily trying to do a perfect line. If you want, you can do a little bit of texture too on the mask. This is always fun. All right, let's go in and do some of these teeth so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's that gum line. If you want to get real in there tight, you can do even some texture on the teeth. Here's your chin. We're going to give a little bit of shading under that chin too. Some hatching. Okay. Let's finish off these teeth. Here's our gum line. You can always put more detail in the hood. Sometimes there's like some stitching in it. That's okay to do. You know, whatever you want. It's your drawing, you can have fun with it. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about it. Right now I'm going to put aside my my size B pencil. I'm going to take out my 6B because you guys know I love to outline these guys. So I'm going to give this a nice thick outline. Help it really pop off the page. And before we go, of course, the last thing you got to do is you got to sign your name, and that's what makes it yours. So I'm going to put my name down here in the corner. That's Brian Crosby, just like that. And there you have it. There is the Green Goblin. So as always, you guys, thanks for joining us. Hope you had a blast today. And remember, this is Marvel, your universe.